I am back, mostly because I just got back from Amangiri. Here's my full review of the property. When I shared on my Instagram that I was going to Amangiri for a spontaneous trip, I could not believe how many DMs I received about people's experiences, good and bad. I was surprised, mostly because Amangiri has been open since 2009. Camp Sarika, which is a different part of the Amangiri resort, did just open about 4 years ago, I believe. So that section of the resort is much newer. And I would assume it's been well documented and there's plenty of data points on the property. I guess not. I guess that's what happens when it's one of the most exclusive properties in the world. But you know what? I am happy that everyone's still curious about the property. Of course, I'm thrilled to go to experience it for myself because I am a huge Aman junkie and this marks my 15th Aman, and I'm happy to be back to break all this down for you. From my point of view, Amangiri is this very unique resort in the sense that it's one of the most exclusive and unknown resorts in the world. But for people who are in the know, it's also one of the most publicized and well-known bucket list resorts in the world. So it has this very odd polarization. When you see Amangiri for the first time in photos or videos, your mind thinks that it's fake because it looks unlike anything else you've seen on the planet. Amangiri sits on the edges of Utah and Arizona. It occupies over 900 acres. It's truly the Wild West. The landscape is made of mesas, canyons, and ridges. The resort feels completely secluded, but at the same time, it's not that far away from Mount Zion National Park, Bryce Canyons, Lake Powell, and some of the other incredible sites. This leads me to my next point, which is getting to Amangiri. Getting to Amangiri isn't the easiest, which I always joke with my client. It's only a proper Aman if it's difficult to get to, because so many Amans are located within UNESCO heritage sites or at a very exclusive and secluded location. Amangiri is a prime example of that. For most people, you will fly into Las Vegas and you have the option of either driving a very scenic 4.5 hours, or you can fly into Las Vegas, take a helicopter or private jet to Page Airport, which is then a 20-minute drive from Amangiri. Amangiri will complimentary pick you up or drop you off back at Page Airport. Page Airport also has a commercial flight that is called Contour Airlines, which connects to Phoenix, I believe. Most of my clients, and myself included, will either fly into Vegas and find a way to get to Amangiri or fly in private into Page Airport. Again, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen that on the day we traveled to Amangiri, it was actually a terrible day. Our jet from Las Vegas to Page Airport was canceled last minute. Luckily, Amangiri team was on the ball and found us a driver. Thank you, Carolyn. And at least we were able to get to Amangiri. We were so stressed out from the arrival day that on the way back, I just decided to book a charter flight from Page Airport all the way back home to North Carolina. That was just a much easier solution for us. I wanted to end the trip on a high note. Let's talk about the hard products, which are the rooms and the resort itself. Aman is known to have a sense of place with local architecture, design, and materials. Amangiri takes us to another level. It literally feels like someone stretched into the mesa and pulled out the rooms. That's how seamless the room feels to its surroundings and landscape. The material used are wood and probably concrete, but they feel like they're actually made from the canyons. It feels raw to the touch. And if you're someone who's an architectural digest junkie or just an architect, you will love this place. If conversely, if you're someone who doesn't enjoy contemporary and minimalistic design, this probably won't be the place for you. At the main resort, it's made up of two sides. In the center, you have the main dining areas, the iconic pool. On each side, you have the rooms. You have the desert wing and you have the mesa wing. The rooms on both sides are pretty much identical, except for the Giri Jala suite on the mesa side and the Aman suite on the desert side. Even then, the bedrooms are pretty much identical. It's just the outdoor terrace and the pool that are different. For most people, I think the 1,000 square feet rooms will be fine and sufficient. However, just to know that this is really ideal for couples. If you're a couple with a small child or just the third person in the room in general, it's going to feel extremely cramped. And if you're 3 adults in the room, that's nearly impossible. You really cannot get a rollaway in here. So for the main resort, I really would suggest only going as couples. If you're in a large group or family, I would book multiple rooms. I think the rooms are beautiful. The pool is fantastic at the Giri Jala suite or the Aman suite. I think Amangiri is actually very unique in the sense that when you look at Amangiri, you'll know if it's actually for you or not for you immediately because it's so different. As I said, I love the design, and for the most part, I think it's aged very gracefully, like many Aman properties do. However, I think some of the wear and tear is beginning to show, and they're going to do some renovation, which is great. At the main resort, the star has to be the pool. You simply can't deny how iconic and special this pool is. The curvature around the canyon and rocks is just incredible. Whether you're having breakfast out by the pool or just lounging around in the afternoon, you can't take your eyes off of it. In fact, we found the pool to be so appealing and attractive that even when we were staying at the camp, we will often drive back to the main pool and just hang out there for the afternoon. The spa at the main resort is also incredible. The lines and the designs, the symmetry, I can't quite explain it, but when you see it and you walk into the spa, it almost gives you a spiritual feeling. And I think that's probably the intent to some degree. Just 5 minutes away from the main resort, you have the new Camp Sarika, which is Amangiri's interpretation of a tented camp, or as many of us will refer to as glamping. There are 10 pavilions at the camp, which really are just tents. To avoid further confusion, I'm going to use the word tent and pavilion interchangeably. Some are 1 bedrooms and some are 2 bedroom tents. While its interior and exteriors are more or less the same, the views are quite different. Some of the tents are facing the Mesa and canyons far away and some are very close to it. Depending on your taste and situation, you may prefer one or the other. I certainly have tents that I favor for myself and my clients as well. The great thing about the pavilions is that it has a proper and spacious living room plus a bedroom and an outdoor terrace, much larger than the rooms at the resort. This is a great setup for families. The tent is impeccably designed. You get the sense of the glamping and the tent, of course. However, to the Aman ethos, there's almost no compromise. You have air vents coming out of the floors for heat and AC. Even the cabinetry, you have microwaves, you have sinks, ambient lighting around the room, and as you walk by the mini bar, the sensor where you can turn the light on. It's incredible to have these features in a tent. The bathrooms are spacious. Of course, the bathtub, indoor and outdoor shower all have views. Everyone should be happy. I love the outdoor space. It's a great place for me to have coffee and breakfast in the mornings or hang out in the afternoon because it's shielded from the sun. However, I do have one knock. You guys know that I hate plunge pools. Pools are something that Aman usually does better than anyone else and something that I love about Aman as a brand. I don't understand why they did a plunge pool here because there's plenty of space for it. And the reason I don't like the plunge pool here is not because of the plunge pool size. It doesn't circulate well and that leaves a lot of bugs in the pool and renders the pool pretty much useless for me. I got in and went there for about 15 minutes and that was pretty much all I cared for. Another part of the outdoor space that I do like is the campfire. We have our own fire pit. It's a fantastic place to come back after dinner, make some s'mores, and just stargaze. Because there's no light pollution, you can see the stars extremely clear at night, and it's fantastic. Every guest at the camp gets assigned their own golf cart, so you can easily drive your golf cart to the camp's pool, dining area, and then back to Amangiri's main resort as well if you choose to. So if you're someone who needs a lot of space like we did on this trip, you can still stay at the camp and also enjoy Amangiri's main resort because they're so close, and the golf cart only takes 5 minutes or less. I was Tokyo drifting, so it only took me like 2 minutes from one to the other. The camp does have its own dining outlet and also pool and spa. Under any other circumstance, if you look at this pool, you would be wowed. This pool and its views will be amazing because Amangiri's pool is so fantastic. I think we were less impressed by the camp's pool, even though it stands on its own completely any day. We still managed to find ourselves at the Amangiri pool on most days. But you have to appreciate Aman for giving the camp and the main resort its own pool and outlets. This way, people can spread out and you won't feel like you're on top of one another. Which brings me to my next point. Even though Amangiri is almost always fully booked, it still felt like you had the benefit of an Aman resort, which means that I can go to the pool anytime and find seating, go to dinner anytime I want to, and there were still times of the day where you felt like you had the place all to yourself. Okay, let's talk about the food. The food concept at the main resort and the camp are slightly different. At the main resort, you have an a la carte menu, which doesn't really change much. It can feel like it will get old after a few days. However, a lot of people might not know this, but Aman is actually very good at offering menus off the item, offering items off the menu. So if you just tell the chef what you want to eat, they will try to make it for you, provided they have the ingredients or the know-how. We do this all the time, and not just at Amangiri, but across all Aman properties. At Camp Sarika, the dinner menu changes daily and has a theme. The theme for our first night at the camp was French, and it was our best dinner of the stay. Of course, this is very subjective, so you might find that differently. During our stay, they also had Italian nights, Caribbean nights, and Asian nights. At the camp, they give you a full menu, and the menu is a prefix menu, and you get everything on the menu. Of course, you can always request replacements if you have dietary allergies, or if there's something you just don't like. Again, the chef will try to do their best to give you something that you will like, even if it's off the menu. Quality-wise, I think there were some food that were standouts, like the French night. Everything was really good. There were some meals that were pretty average for a resort. The food was good enough. There were no complaints, but I also don't think it's a standout. So I would give the food maybe a B or B+. And let's talk about the soft product, which is service. And because this year, 2023, has been one of the most challenging years in the entire industry to staff, so my expectations were fairly low before I arrived at Amangiri. To my surprise, the service was actually quite good. I wouldn't say the service is as good as some of the Amans in Southeast Asia, but for a domestic property in the US, pretty good. One of the better ones I've experienced. I love that Amangiri staff has a lot of locals. I found the staff to be very appreciative of working at Amangiri, which is always a good sign because that means the attrition should be low. Because Amangiri is in a very secluded location, there is a portion of the staff that does have a higher turnover. Okay, and because this is an Aman, when I talk about service, I have to talk about, did people ask for our room numbers and our names during our stay, which I know is very odd if you're not an Amanjunkie or if you've never stayed at a proper Aman before. Like I said, because I was expecting the staff count to be low and the resort to be fully occupied, I was not expecting much of the usual Aman magic. To my surprise, during our 6-night stay, we were only asked for our room once, and the person actually called our room number right. He just asked it as a question. We were in room 21. He said, "Are you in room 21?
I'm Ron Burgundy?"
and on most days we were addressed by name. So I was indeed very impressed by that and definitely felt like I was at a proper Aman. If you ever looked into Amangiri, and the fact that you're watching this video makes me think that you have, I'm sure you've seen that Amangiri has a bunch of different activities. Guided hikes, boating on Lake Powell, climbing the canyons if you're not afraid of heights, horseback riding, private tours of the antelopes. These are just some of the interesting excursions that's available at Amangiri. I really enjoy our private guided tour into the antelopes, sorry, and our 4-hour boating on Lake Powell. I think Lake Powell was incredible. I could not believe how alien Lake Powell looked. I mean, I've been on lakes, but there's nothing that's quite like Lake Powell. So if you're visiting during a hot months, please go to Lake Powell. It's awesome. Okay, conclusion. It's fair to say that Amangiri certainly has a lot of hype. Insane amount of hype, given all the celebrities who goes to it, how often people see it on social media. And it does command a very high price tag as well. Do I think it was worth it? Yes, I think it absolutely was worth it. It's a high barrier to entry. Let's say you're someone who books villas or suites and you're used to that kind of budget, Amangiri is for sure worth it because it's a full bore. It's built in one of the most unique and crazy settings you'll ever see. And I think that's actually the most luxurious part about Amangiri. If I talk to someone about Amangiri, they may ask me, how's the service, how's the food? Both things matters, don't get me wrong, it definitely matters. But I think the most luxurious and the point of Amangiri is that you cannot believe Amangiri is a resort that just popped out of the canyons and in a setting that feels like an alien planet. You know what? I think Amangiri must be what it feels like to live on the moon if the moon had no more gravity. At least that's what I would imagine. Obviously, I've never been to the moon, but it's just crazy. In my mind, I was trying to compare Amangiri to another resort because that's what I do. It's my job, but I really struggle and I failed to come up with another resort to compare with Amangiri. My only comparison would be that this feeling I had the first time I went on a safari at Singita, I remember being out in the bushes and thinking to myself that I cannot believe I'm out in the middle of the bushes with these wild animals, which is insane. And we have this level of luxury in terms of food, service, and accommodations just in the middle of the wild. I think in the same way, Amangiri blew my mind. I couldn't believe this resort was actually in this setting. So I think that's actually the point of visiting Amangiri. So service and food should be good, but I wouldn't focus so much on the food. I think the food is just, it's fine. You're gonna be fine. You're not gonna go home and brag to your friends about how good the food was, but you're not gonna complain either. Service, ebbs and flows. There's gonna be peaks and there's gonna be valleys. For us, it was actually quite good. So hopefully it stays that way, but the setting, that's what you go for. I would have no hesitation recommending Amangiri to my clients who find it appealing. And again, I can't stress enough, I think Amangiri is actually one of the rare resorts where if you look at it, you should have a feeling about it. So if you find it mind-blowing and appealing when you look at it, you should definitely go. If you find it to be cold and not that appealing, then don't. But Amangiri is like 95% full all year round. So evidently, most people do find it appealing. I'll probably go back, maybe not in the next year or so, but once Amangiri finish building their new villas, which I have no idea when those will come online, I will probably go back and bring some friends and family. It's a place that my clients have really enjoyed over the years. It's one of the rare properties where I have so many clients calling me to tell me that I need to go ASAP. So I finally have, and you know what? They were right on. Every once in a while, my clients gets to wear the shoes and advise me, which I love and appreciate. On that note, make sure that the next time you travel to a place like Amangiri or a luxury resort, reach out to a luxury travel advisor like myself to make sure that you have a trusted and experienced professional to help you allocate your most valuable resource, which is your time. So when you're going on vacations or holidays, that you're most likely picking the best and ideal resort or hotel for your trips. That being said, I better go. I think Singita review is going to be my next one. I can't wait. Safari is just amazing. And in some ways, I think Amangiri was like a canyon safari. Subscribe to make sure you're alerted for the next review, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.